All right, so get this. Today we're going deep, really deep, into a mystery, a real head-scratcher.
Ooh, I love a good mystery.
This one's about a guy named, get this, Jack Northman.
Jack Northman.
Yeah, Jack Northman. Ever heard of him?
Rings a bell, maybe? No,
Yeah.
actually doesn't. Not at all.
Yeah, me neither. And to be honest, after going through all of this, we're still pretty much in the dark about who he is.
Yeah, it's wild. This whole thing, Jack Northman is basically a ghost.
A ghost.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
we're starting with nothing, zero, zip, nada. The only reason we know this guy even existed is because of these declassified FBI files.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it. 1,128 pages, all thanks to a Freedom of Information Act request.
Wow.
That's a serious stack of paper, right, for someone who, on the surface, seems like your average Joe.
Yeah, totally average.
So the big question right off the bat, why did the FBI even have a file on this guy?
Well, good news. The FBI's response letter, dated November 3rd, 2016, confirms they've got these records on, let me get his full name right, Jack Anderson Northman.
Jack Anderson Northman. Okay.
And the letter says that these files, well, they've been processed under the Freedom of Information Act before.
Okay. Sounds pretty standard so far.
Right, and there's always a but, isn't there?
Uh-huh. Yeah, usually.
Well, the letter, it also says specifically that certain types of records, they're excluded from FOIA requests, especially, the juicy stuff about law enforcement and national security.
Oh, so there could be another file on Northman somewhere hidden away.
Exactly, a secret file.
Okay, so potentially even more info on this guy, but it's locked away.
Yeah.
What could be so sensitive that they had to keep it top secret?
That's the million-dollar question, right? To figure out what might be hidden, we got to look at the explanation of exemptions the FBI gave us. Lays out all the types of information they can legally withhold.
Oh, I bet that's interesting.
Oh, and let me tell you, some of these exemptions are wild.
Okay, let's hear about a few of them. One that really stands out to me as well, it's Exemption B1, information classified for national defense or foreign policy reasons. Are you saying Jack Northman could have been like a spy or something?
It's not impossible. Think about it. They're using both the national security and the foreign policy exemptions, so this wasn't just some petty crime.
Yeah, that's true.
Whatever Northman was mixed up in, it had international implications. Who knows? Maybe he was working with or even against a foreign government. It's really a puzzle.
Okay, so much to think about already. And it's another exemption. It seems really broad. Exemption B7, records compiled for law enforcement purposes. So we know the FBI was interested in this Northman guy, but what were they investigating?
Yeah, that's the big question. This one really throws a wrench in the works. Was he suspected of something? Was he a witness? Maybe even an informant? We just don't know.
Feels frustrating.
I know, right? And without seeing the actual documents, it's impossible to say for sure.
And then there's this one, Exemption B4. It's all about, well, trade secrets and commercial or financial information. Could Northman have been mixed up in some shady business?
Oh, that's a good theory. Maybe white-collar crime, financial fraud, even intellectual property theft. So many possibilities.
Yeah, really opens up the possibilities.
And with this exemption, it's like they're saying, we can't tell you what he did, but trust us, it was big.
So, okay, let's recap. We have this guy, Jack Northman. He's a total enigma, potentially tied to national security, maybe some shady business dealings, and definitely on the FBI's radar. What kind of person was he?
Honestly, right now he's a puzzle, but most of the pieces are missing.
A frustrating puzzle.
Without access to those redacted documents, we're just, speculating. It's frustrating, but it's also kind of the thrill of working with declassified info.
I get that it's like getting a glimpse into a hidden world, but you can only see through a keyhole.
Perfect analogy.
So where do we go from here? Do we just give up?
Give up? No way. There's still so much we can learn from these exemptions. It's like putting together a puzzle, but without the picture in the box.
I like that analogy.
We may not know the final image, but we can still connect the pieces.
Okay, I'm definitely intrigued. Let's see what else we can piece together. But before we go any further, let's take a little detour and talk about John Greenwald Jr. and the Black Vault.
Oh, absolutely.
This whole deep dive, it wouldn't be possible without him. He's the one who submitted the FOIA request and got us these documents.
He's a legend.
Right. The Black Vault is an incredible resource, this guy, John Greenwald Jr. He's dedicated his life to making these declassified government documents available to the public. It's all about transparency and access to information.
It's amazing, really.
And sometimes those documents, they reveal stories that would have otherwise remained hidden forever.
Lost to history.
For anyone who's fascinated by government secrets, conspiracies, or just wants to know, what goes on behind the scenes, I highly recommend checking out the Black Vault website. We'll put a link in the show notes.
Definitely check it out.
It's a treasure trove of information, and who knows, maybe some of our listeners will get inspired to do their own digging, uncover the next big mystery.
I hope so.
All right, so now that we've given John Greenwald Jr. a well-deserved shout-out, let's get back to Jack Northman and those pesky FOIA exemptions.
Let's dive back in.
I have a feeling this is just the tip of the iceberg.
Oh, I think you're right about that. Okay, so remember that web of exemptions we're dealing with here surrounding Jack Northman?
Oh, yeah, can't forget those. National security, potential law enforcement stuff, maybe even some shady business deals. All right.
You got it. And there are actually a few more exemptions we should probably unpack if we want to, get a clearer picture of what might be hidden in those blacked out pages.
Okay, lay it on me. What other secrets could be lurking in these files?
Well, exemption B3 is interesting. It deals with information that's specifically protected from disclosure by another law entirely.
Hold on. So it's like, what, a secret within a secret?
Kind of, yeah. It's like there might be this whole other layer of legal reasons they're keeping info about Northman under wraps.
What kind of laws could we even be talking about here?
Honestly, it could be anything from intelligence gathering to financial regulations. Really widens the scope,
Yeah, that's a lot.
Maybe Northman's activities bumped up against a very specific area of law that demands secrecy.
Okay, so we might be dealing with multiple layers of secrecy here. This is getting more complex by the minute.
Oh, for sure. And what about exemption B2?
Oh, yeah. That one seemed, I don't know, a bit more on the boring side.
Haha, maybe.
It's the one about internal personnel rules and practices of an agency.
That's the one.
How could that possibly apply to our mysterious Mr. Northman?
It might seem less exciting, at least on the surface.
Yeah, for sure.
But think about it this way. Why would the FBI need to redact information about their own internal procedures in relation to Northman?
Good point. Unless those procedures were, I don't know, somehow bent. Or maybe even broken because of something to do with Northman.
Exactly. It could mean that the FBI's handling of Northman's case was, unusual or maybe even controversial, maybe even raising questions about their own conduct.
Wait, are you saying the FBI might have messed up? That they're hiding their own missteps under these exemptions?
It's a possibility, and it makes you wonder about the pressure they might have been under. What if they were so focused on whatever Northman was involved in that they, cut some corners?
Yeah, that's possible. Or maybe they were trying to protect something else entirely.
Oh, yeah, that too.
Okay, so we've got potential legal complexities, maybe some controversial FBI involvement. What else can these exemptions tell us?
Well, exemptions B5 and B6, those focus on interagency communication and personal privacy. These could come into play if Northman was involved in something that required, coordination between different government agencies, or if his case involved sensitive personal info about other people.
Okay, so we're talking potentially multiple agencies involved, maybe even international collaboration and information that could, put someone's safety at risk if it was revealed.
Yeah, exactly. It's like each exemption gives us this tiny little piece of a much larger, much more complex puzzle.
And don't forget about exemptions, B7A through F. Those are all about ongoing investigations, safety of individuals, and confidential sources.
Oh, right. Those suggest that revealing certain info could, jeopardize active investigations, maybe endanger people's lives, or even compromise confidential informants.
So not only could Northman have been involved in something potentially dangerous, but there might be other people who could be at risk if certain information came out, right?
Right. The stakes just got a lot higher.
Makes you wonder, what was Jack Northman really doing that would require this level of secrecy and protection? Was he some key player in some larger operation? Was he a threat to national security? Or was he, someone who needed protection?
Big questions.
I wish we could just peek into those redacted documents. It feels like we're so close to uncovering something huge, but we're missing those crucial pieces of information. It's driving me crazy.
I know. It's like standing outside a locked room. You can hear muffled voices, but you can't understand what they're saying.
Ugh, the worst. Okay, well, before we totally lose our minds over this, let's back up a bit. You mentioned a timeline earlier.
Oh, right. Even though we're missing a lot of the details, we were able to piece together a rough timeline of Northman's known activities based on what's left in these documents.
Oh, that's something, at least.
Yeah, it's not much, but it might give us some clues.
All right, I'm all ears. What do we know about Northman's movements?
Well, the earliest record we have places him in, get this, New York City, back in 1958.
Wow, so long ago.
I know, right? And there's this, like, heavily redacted memo that mentions him attending a meeting at a hotel in Manhattan.
A meeting about what? Don't tell me that's redacted.
Ugh. I wish I had better news for you. It's completely blacked out. We have no idea who he met with or what they discussed.
Ugh, so mysterious. What happens next?
Then there's this gap of about 5 years. The next mention of Northman is in 1963.
Okay.
This time he's in Los Angeles, but again, the details are heavily redacted. It mentions something about a business venture and a potential investment.
Business venture. Investment. Could this be connected to that exemption before we talked about earlier, the one about trade secrets and financial information?
Could be. Maybe he was involved in something, illegal or unethical that they're trying to keep quiet.
Okay, this is starting to feel like a spy thriller. New York, Los Angeles, secret meetings, mysterious business dealings.
Yeah.
What else is on this timeline?
The trail goes cold again for a few years, and then, bam, in 1968, there's a flurry of activity we see references to, like travel visas, coded messages, and get this, something called Operation Bluebird.
Operation Bluebird. What in the world is that?
Unfortunately, everything about Operation Bluebird is, you guessed it, heavily redacted. We can only speculate about what it was, but, the fact that it pops up around the same time as these travel visas and coded messages suggests that something international was going on.
New York, Los Angeles, international travel, coded messages, Operation Bluebird. It's like something out of a James Bond movie.
Haha, I know, right? It has all the elements of a good spy story. But remember, we're dealing with real people, real events here, and, without more info, it's impossible to say for sure what was really going on.
I know, but this is driving me nuts. Every piece of information we uncover just raises more questions. What happens next on this timeline? Does Northman just disappear?
That's the strange part. The trail goes cold after 1968. There are no more mentions of Northman in the documents. After that, it's like he vanished into thin air.
Wait, hold on. So we have this guy popping up in New York, then Los Angeles, then potentially involved in some international intrigue, and then poof, he just disappears. What are we supposed to make of that?
Honestly, I have no idea. It's one of the biggest mysteries of this whole case. Did he go into hiding? Was he given a new identity? Or did something worse happen to him?
This is unbelievable. It's like we're getting closer to the truth, but then it slips away from us. I feel like I'm going down a rabbit hole.
Haha! Welcome to the world of declassified documents, my friend. It's a world of secrets, half-truths, and missing pieces. But, that's also what makes it so fascinating.
Okay, so we've got this tantalizing timeline, but more questions than answers. Where do we go from here? What else can we learn from these exemptions? Wow, okay, I need a minute to just process all of this.
It's a lot to take in.
We started with Jack Northman, a name that meant absolutely nothing to us, and now we've got potential ties to espionage, shady business dealings, maybe even the FBI trying to, cover up their own mistakes.
It's wild, and to top it all off, a mysterious disappearance. It's like we've stumbled into a real-life spy novel.
And remember, this is just, a fraction of the information. Oh, right. Who knows what else is hidden in all those redacted sections?
Exactly. It's like we're looking at a tapestry, but half the threads are missing.
That's a good way to put it.
You can see, the general outline, the shapes, the colors, but there are these huge gaps in the picture.
Right, like we're just getting these glimpses.
Yeah, and it makes you realize that what we see in these documents, it might not even be the full story.
Okay, now I'm really starting to freak out. So what are we supposed to do with all of this? We've got these tantalizing clues, this mysterious timeline, but we're missing so much information. It's incredibly frustrating.
I know, it's frustrating, but that's just the nature of working with declassified documents,
Yeah, so
It's like being a detective, but you only have half the evidence.
a very frustrating detective.
Yeah, but even with these limitations, I think we've managed to uncover something really intriguing.
Yeah, I agree. Jack Northman, he may have started as like a ghost, but now he's starting to feel like a real person,
Right, what do you mean?
Someone with a past, with secrets, with a story that deserves to be told.
And that's the key takeaway here. I think even someone who seems, totally ordinary, someone like Jack Northman, can have an extraordinary story hidden beneath the surface.
Yeah, it's like those stories you hear about people finding secret rooms in their houses or uncovering family secrets generations later.
Right,
Except,
except.
except in this case, the secrets, they're hidden in government files, redacted and protected by law.
And who knows how many more stories like this are out there, just, buried in archives, waiting to be discovered.
It's both exciting and kind of terrifying to think about all those secrets out there just waiting to be unearthed.
It definitely sparks your curiosity, doesn't it?
It does. It makes you want to keep digging, keep searching, keep asking questions. And that's what I love about this work. It's like we're peeling back layers of history, trying to, I don't know, trying to understand the past and how it shapes our present.
And sometimes what we find is, well, it's more complex and more intriguing than we could have ever imagined.
Oh, speaking of intriguing, there's one more exemption I want to touch on. We talked about exemption B1, information classified for national defense or foreign policy reasons.
Yeah.
But then you also mentioned K1, information classified again for national defense or foreign policy reasons. Is that a typo?
Mm-hmm.
Why are there two exemptions that seem to say the exact same thing?
Well, that's a great question, and it's something that trips people up a lot when they're dealing with FOIA. It's not a typo. Exemption B1, it's part of the Freedom of Information Act itself.
Okay.
But K1, it comes from the Privacy Act, which is, well, it's a whole separate law that deals with specifically protecting personal information that's held by the government.
So even the Privacy Act, which is, supposed to protect people's privacy, has an exception for national security.
Exactly. It really highlights the fact that sometimes the government's need to protect, national security, it outweighs an individual's right to privacy.
I see.
And in Jack Northman's case, it seems like those national security concerns, they played a big role in keeping his story hidden.
So we've got this seemingly ordinary guy who somehow got caught up in something huge, something that touched on national security, international relations, maybe even the inner workings of the FBI. And despite all our digging, his story remains a mystery.
It's a reminder that there are still, parts of our history that are hidden from view, secrets that, well, they may never be fully revealed.
But that doesn't mean we should stop searching, right?
Absolutely not.
Every document we uncover, every exemption we decipher, it brings us, a little closer to understanding the truth.
And who knows, maybe one day someone will find that missing piece of the puzzle, the key that unlocks all the secrets of Jack Northman's life. Maybe that person is out there listening right now.
That's an exciting thought. And for anyone who's interested in, diving deeper into this world of declassified documents, remember to check out the Black Vault website. We'll put a link in our show notes. You never know what secrets you might uncover.
It's amazing what's out there.
John Greenwald Jr.'s work, it's a testament to the power of curiosity, persistence, and, and the belief that the public has a right to know.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
So keep digging, keep questioning, and never underestimate the power of a good mystery. Who knows? Maybe you'll be the one to finally crack the case of Jack Northman.
And that's our deep dive for today. Thanks for listening.